Catholic pilgrims, as we learn from one of Spain's most revered saints, Saint Teresa of Avila, a spirited doctor of the Church. Join me, Amy Thomas, once a week as we read from Saint Teresa's book, The Interior Castle. Hello, Catholic pilgrims. Welcome back. Time is flying, and that's what happens when you really commit yourself to something, even something hard. You find that time flies. There's a tendency to think that you haven't gotten very far, but then you turn around and see just how far you've actually come, and you're a bit surprised by what you see. I was going to power through today and finish the third mansion, but as I started reading through the remaining numbers, I realized that it was a lot. So much so that I was feeling overwhelmed, trying to figure out what to say and how to keep us all focused. And I know sometimes that when someone is reading something to you that requires more effort than, say, reading some entertainment book, you need to take it in bite-sized chunks. Otherwise, your mind wanders and you forget everything that you're reading. I know this about myself, and so I said, nope, I can only read a little bit today. So we are only reading 3 numbers today and 2 next time, but I think we will all benefit from the readings being shortened. St. Teresa today is going to talk about how perfection consists in love, not reward. How we should experience joy at seeing other souls favored, and that graces should be striven for, remembering that we can't do well in our faith life apart from God's grace. Our readings will be from the Third Mansion, Chapter 2, Numbers 15 through 17. But first, a word from our sponsor, Amazing Grace Pilgrimages. I'm getting ready to interview a man who went on pilgrimage in California, where he walked the 800 miles of the El Camino Real, visiting all 21 missions there started by St. Junipero Serra. And he said something that really struck me. He said, pilgrimage is where we step out of the mundane to do something beautiful for God. Right there, he encapsulated why I love pilgrimage so much. This October 23rd through the 31st, 2023, I am going on pilgrimage to Italy with Amazing Grace Pilgrimages. And what I want to do is intentionally spend 9 days doing something beautiful for God. Visiting the Eternal City, visiting and praying at the tombs of apostles and saints, soaking in beautiful churches and spending time in adoration with God, and walking with fellow pilgrims as we strengthen our faith. And I would love for you to join me. It's a small, intimate group, and the price is great compared to other pilgrimage prices. If you're interested, see the link in the show notes or reach out to Amazing Grace Pilgrimages on Facebook and Instagram. All right, let's dive into our readings. Those who do not receive these consolations may feel a despondency that is uncalled for, since perfection does not consist in consolation, but in greater love. Our reward will be in proportion to this and to the justice and sincerity of our actions. Perhaps you wonder then why I treat of these interior favors and their nature. I do not know. Ask him who bade me write this. I must obey superiors, not argue with them, which I have no right to do. I assure you that when I had neither received these favors, nor understood them by experience, or ever expected to, and rightly so, for I should have felt reassured if I had known or even conjectured that I was pleasing to God in any way. Yet when I read of the mercies and consolations that our Lord grants to his servants, I was delighted and praised him fervently. If such as myself acted thus, how much more would the humble and good glorify him? I think it is worthwhile to explain these subjects and show what consolations and delights we lose through our own fault, if only for the sake of moving a single soul to praise God once. When these joys are from God, they come laden with love and strength, which aid the soul on its way and increase its good works and virtues. Do not imagine that it is unimportant whether you try to obtain these graces or no. If you are not to blame, the Lord is just. What he refuses in one way, his majesty will give you in another, as he knows how. His secret ways are very mysterious, and doubtless he will do what is best for you. Have you ever done something and received zero consolations? Like there's nobody to pat you on the back. Nobody is giving you a high five for a job well done. With regards to our prayer life or pursuing a more purposefully Christian life, maybe God isn't giving us any consolations. Sometimes God feels far away, and it seems like he isn't acknowledging our effort. There's no voice from the sky saying, "Well done, my faithful child, you are on the right path." I know many of us feel this lack of consolation in our prayer lives. Some of us have been praying, and we just don't feel anything. Or God just doesn't seem to be answering our prayers. I know that this is a big struggle, and it's a huge struggle for me. St. Teresa tells us in number 15 that, quote, "Those who do not receive these consolations may feel despondency," unquote. But she says that this despondency is uncalled for. Why? Well, because as she continues, quote, "Perfection does not consist in consolations, but in greater love," unquote. Why does God allow us to feel no consolation sometimes? Well, I honestly think it is to test the sincerity of our actions, like St. Teresa says. Are we doing things to get pats on the back, or are we doing things to really show our love for God? Are we going to do God's will, even if we don't get honors and praises or warm fuzzies in our hearts? If we demand these consolations, our motivations are off. And, I was thinking about this, and a really good saint to pray to for help with this is St. Joseph. I mean, the man cared so well for Jesus and Mary, and yet he is barely mentioned in the Bible. He did what was asked of him with no accolades. It was enough for him to take care of Jesus and Mary simply because God asked him to do so. Now, moving on to number 16. The question to ask ourselves here is, when was the last time you took joy in seeing someone else use their gifts for God or strengthen their relationship with God? Or when was the last time you took joy in seeing God shower somebody with graces? Several months ago, big news hit the Catholic world that the famous actor Shia LaBeouf had converted to Catholicism. Now, if you know anything about Shia, he's a pretty famous actor in his 30s, and for the most part, he has lived the typical Hollywood existence. And at a very low point in his life, he was asked to play the part of St. Padre Pio for an upcoming movie. Now, he didn't know anything about Padre Pio. So he went off to study him, and he also started living in a monastery in California because he wanted to study for his upcoming role. And it was at this monastery that he had a huge transformation, and he was given a lot of graces, I know, and he eventually converted to Catholicism. Bishop Robert Barron did an interview with him, and as a convert myself, I can understand the passion Shia felt upon discovering the truth of Catholicism. To try to explain it, it's like you're thirsty, but you don't realize that you're dying of thirst, and then someone hands you this mysterious thing called water, and you take a drink and shout out, "Where has this been all my life?" Anyway, nobody knows but God whether Shia's conversion is sincere and true. It appears to be. But as I read the comments section under the video, I saw many people saying things like, "Yeah, well, hope it lasts, and this is just a fad for him. He'll quit in no time." Now, to be sure, there were many positive comments, but I was upset by the negative ones. These people just couldn't find joy in seeing a brother come to Christ in the fullness of the church. They doubted and almost scorned him. It was truly pathetic, And I hope he didn't read those comments. Now, the point in telling you this is that we should take joy in seeing someone grow in their faith, or even come into the faith, or receive graces from God. And usually those things go hand in hand. And I had to be reminded of this by my daughter recently. I was on the phone with her and I was lamenting the fact that someone very dear to me isn't Catholic. However, this person has really grown in their faith, and I have seen these huge strides taken. But as my daughter pointed out, I need to be celebrating those victories instead of negatively seeing only the fact that this person isn't Catholic yet. And she told me, "Mom, rejoice in the victories and trust that God will see it through to the end." I was like, okay, your kids can really teach you a lot. And this is a very good thing for all of us to remember. Lastly, we come to number 17. Here, St. Teresa is again talking about graces. She was just talking about how we should be happy when we see others receive graces from God. And I think oftentimes we get envious or think somehow that grace has a limited supply, so if God gives it to others, we're going to miss out, or something like that. But that's not how grace works. If God is sending graces, it's for a reason. She tells us that, quote, "When these joys are from God, they come laden with love and strength, which aid the soul on its way and increase its good works and virtues," unquote. And what you might be saying then is, well, it just sounds like God chooses to send graces or not, and so I guess we just wait around and see if he gives us some. But that's not the case. St. Teresa tells us, quote, "Do not imagine that it is unimportant whether you try to obtain these graces or no. If he refuses in one way, his majesty will give you in another," unquote. Now, he may not help you in the way that you are anticipating or the way that you think would be best. He may help you in a completely different way because he knows exactly what is best for you. And it is so good to ask for graces. I ask all the time. Something I think we imagine with grace is that we'll have this beast-like moment from Beauty and the Beast, the movie. You know how in the cartoon, towards the very end, the beast is transforming from the beast back into a man, and there's this whole dramatic scene with him being lifted off the ground with light shining out of him everywhere. And once he changes, he spins around to look at Belle, emoting with awe and wonder. Me and my girls absolutely love imitating this because it's kind of funny. Anyway, I think too many of us have this romantic vision of grace that will somehow have this powerful, dramatic moment of transformation, when in reality, it will likely be quiet and less dramatic. Just a subtle infusion of grace into our souls to strengthen us, and we don't even realize it until we look back in hindsight. So the three things to take away from today really are, if you're not feeling any consolations in how things are going in your spiritual life, sometimes that is a test from God. Do the right things anyway, even if you're not getting pats on the back. And secondly, be happy when you see others being showered with grace and doing well in their spiritual life. They're not taking anything from you, I can promise you that. And lastly, ask for graces. If you're struggling with something, ask for graces. Now, God may not grant them in the way that you see, but he will find another way. Like St. Teresa says at the very end, he knows what is best for you. So we'll end there, Catholic Pilgrims. Next time, we will finish up the third mansion. And until then, live the faith boldly and travel well.